AWS Certified Data Analytics, Specialty DAS-C01 Exam Updated Dumps are the latest version in the whole market. Share some updated AWS Certified DAS-C01 Exam Dumps here. 1. A banking company is currently using an Amazon Redshift cluster with dense storage (DAS) nodes to store sensitive data. An audit found that the cluster is unencrypted. Compliance requirements state that a database with sensitive data must be encrypted through a hardware security module (HSM) with automated key rotation. Which combination of steps is required to achieve compliance? Choose 2. A. Set up a trusted connection with HSM using a client and server certificate with automatic key rotation. B. Modify the cluster with an HSM encryption option and automatic key rotation. C. Create a new HSM encrypted Amazon Redshift cluster and migrate the data to the new cluster. D. Enable HSM with key rotation through the AWS CLI. E. Enable elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman ephemeral (ECDHE) encryption in the HSM. 2. A company wants to improve the data load time of a sales data dashboard. Data has been collected as .csv files and stored within an Amazon S3 bucket that is partitioned by date. The data is then loaded to an Amazon Redshift data warehouse for frequent analysis. The data volume is up to 500 gigabytes per day. Which solution will improve the data loading performance? A. Compress .csv files and use an insert statement to ingest data into Amazon Redshift. B. Split large .csv files. Then use a copy command to load data into Amazon Redshift. C. Use Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose to ingest data into Amazon Redshift. D. Load the .csv files in an unsorted key order and vacuum the table in Amazon Redshift. 3. A company analyzes its data in an Amazon Redshift data warehouse, which currently has a cluster of 3 dense storage nodes. Due to a recent business acquisition, the company needs to load an additional 4 terabytes of user data into Amazon Redshift. The engineering team will combine all the user data and apply complex calculations that require I/O-intensive resources. The company needs to adjust the cluster's capacity to support the change in analytical and storage requirements. Which solution meets these requirements? A. Resize the cluster using elastic resize with dense compute nodes. B. Resize the cluster using classic resize with dense compute nodes. C. Resize the cluster using elastic resize with dense storage nodes. D. Resize the cluster using classic resize with dense storage nodes. 4. A company has developed several AWS glue jobs to validate and transform its data from Amazon S3 and load it into Amazon RDS for MySQL in batches once every day. The ETL jobs read the S3 data using a dynamic frame. Currently, the ETL developers are experiencing challenges in processing only the incremental data on every run, as the AWS glue job processes all the S3 input data on each run. Which approach would allow the developers to solve the issue with minimal coding effort? A. Have the ETL jobs read the data from Amazon S3 using a data frame. B. Enable job bookmarks on the AWS glue jobs. C. Create custom logic on the ETL jobs to track the processed S3 objects. D. Have the ETL jobs delete the processed objects or data from Amazon S3 after each run. 5. An Amazon Redshift database contains sensitive user data. Logging is necessary to meet compliance requirements. The logs must contain database authentication attempts, connections, and disconnections. The logs must also contain each query run against the database and record which database user ran each query. Which steps will create the required logs? A. Enable Amazon Redshift Enhanced VPC routing. Enable VPC flow logs to monitor traffic. B. Allow access to the Amazon Redshift database using AWS-IAM only. Log access using AWS CloudTrail. C. Enable audit logging for Amazon Redshift using the AWS Management Console or the AWS CLI. D. Enable and download audit reports from AWS Artifact. 6. Once a month, a company receives a 100 megabytes .csv file compressed with gzip. The file contains 50,000 property listing records and is stored in Amazon S3 Glacier. The company needs its data analyst to query a subset of the data for a specific vendor. What is the most cost-effective solution? A. Load the data into Amazon S3 and query it with Amazon S3 Select. B. Query the data from Amazon S3 Glacier directly with Amazon Glacier Select. C. Load the data to Amazon S3 and query it with Amazon Athena. D. Load the data to Amazon S3 and query it with Amazon Redshift Spectrum. 7. A retail company is building its data warehouse solution using Amazon Redshift. As a part of that effort, the company is loading hundreds of files into the fact table created in its Amazon Redshift cluster. The company wants the solution to achieve the highest throughput and optimally use cluster resources when loading data into the company's fact table. How should the company meet these requirements? A. Use multiple copy commands to load the data into the Amazon Redshift cluster. B. Use S3 DIST-CP to load multiple files into the Hadoop Distributed File System, HDFS, and use an HDFS connector to ingest the data into the Amazon Redshift cluster. C. Use load commands equal to the number of Amazon Redshift cluster nodes and load the data in parallel into each node. D. Use a single copy command to load the data into the Amazon Redshift cluster. 8. A global company has different sub-organizations, and each sub-organization sells its products and services in various countries. The company's senior leadership wants to quickly identify which suborganization is the strongest performer in each country. All sales data is stored in Amazon S3 in Parquet format. Which approach can provide the visuals that senior leadership requested with the least amount of effort? A. Use Amazon QuickSight with Amazon Athena as the data source. Use heat maps as the visual type. B. Use Amazon QuickSight with Amazon S3 as the data source. Use heat maps as the visual type. C. Use Amazon QuickSight with Amazon Athena as the data source. Use pivot tables as the visual type. D. Use Amazon QuickSight with Amazon S3 as the data source. Use pivot tables as the visual type. 9. A media analytics company consumes a stream of social media posts. The posts are sent to an Amazon Kinesis data stream partitioned on user_id. An AWS Lambda function retrieves the records and validates the content before loading the posts into an Amazon Elasticsearch cluster. The validation process needs to receive the posts for a given user in the order they were received. A data analyst has noticed that, during peak hours, the social media platform posts take more than an hour to appear in the Elasticsearch cluster. What should the data analyst do to reduce this latency? A. Migrate the validation process to Amazon Kinesis Data Firehose. B. Migrate the Lambda consumers from standard data stream iterators to an HTTP two-stream consumer. C. Increase the number of shards in the stream. D. Configure multiple Lambda functions to process the stream. 10. A large financial company is running its ETL process. Part of this process is to move data from Amazon S3 into an Amazon Redshift cluster. The company wants to use the most cost-efficient method to load the dataset into Amazon Redshift. Which combination of steps would meet these requirements? Choose 2. A. Use the copy command with the manifest file to load data into Amazon Redshift. B. Use S3 dist-cp to load files into Amazon Redshift. C. Use temporary staging tables during the loading process. D. Use the unload command to upload data into Amazon Redshift. E. Use Amazon Redshift Spectrum to query files from Amazon S3.